Hey, Rachel, I have a confession to make today, and I'm not sure how it's going to land with you as you being an email marketer, but I have not opened my actual email inbox in about 2 months.
Interesting. Tell me more.
I recently trained an AI agent that reads my emails and delivers me a daily summary about what's in there. And then I kind of just like, you can delete those. These I actually want to read. So I think it's just kind of showing how we interact with the internet, how the World Wide Web interacts with us is completely changing.
Yeah, I think I've seen this with my clients. I've seen this across the board with how I just consume my own inbox, my own socials and everything. And what it comes down to, and it's something that AI cannot replicate, is that I am going to consume the brands and the businesses and the people that I trust, but everything else. So all of these people that are like spamming me and sending me all of these different things, like trash. Like, I don't even mark them as red, like, immediately goes to the trash. So, yeah, it's interesting. I love that you've AI'd this. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, I was actually training a copywriter yesterday. We were kind of looking through emails and reflecting on how we consume emails and why we open some and not the other. And it really is about that valuable content. Or I have somebody who they're always doing something interesting. I want to open up and like see what they're up to. And I think more and more that traditional funnel that we were trained on with lead magnet, 6 or 7
Mhm.
follow-up emails, pitch your offer, that is just not the route people are taking anymore. And it's more of what you've been talking about forever is building this cohesive marketing ecosystem.
What we're going to get into today, like Jess said, is so we're talking why the traditional funnels are becoming less and less effective and really what's replacing it. How do we like pivot and adjust in our businesses? And like the thing is, what we don't want you to take away from this episode is that we're not telling you traditional funnels are evil or that but you need to rebuild everything in your business. Some funnels, and I have some clients who have very traditional funnels, are still they're still converting very well. So some of these things, though, they are not working because of how we have trained our subscribers, our audiences to engage with us, whether that means how they're searching things. SEO could be impacted because of AI, how your emails are being opened because now it's the lowest lift, right? Like people are sending out stuff with 2, 3 clicks and saying, okay, this is directly going to reach my audience. And ultimately, too, we've all been experiencing this social shift that is even a single post that used to do so is no longer performing the way that it was. So none of these behaviors are things that you're just like imagining or happening just directly to you. Like the world, the internet is all fundamentally changing. And I think that we need to walk through some specific forces that are actually shifting and go through, break it down, what it means, what to build instead, and all of that.
So, yeah, we're going to be going through these 4 forces. And the first one is that, and we've talked about this before, is that like AI content is just flooding the market right now. So, there's a lot more content out there, which means your reach is lower. Right now, Instagram is only reaching about 3.5% of your followers, Facebook is closer to 2. So, you can't like outpost the robots, I guess. So volume cannot be your like where it used to could be probably your competitive advantage, like coaches that would be on there and they would like make 80 a day. That
Yeah.
used to be a competitive advantage. And right now it's like you can't outpost. So volume is not going to be the competitive advantage anymore. And like that authenticity and depth is really going to be more important.
So it's less about how do I get more of this reach, and it's more so like how do I build something that one makes me unique, gives me that kind of unique value prop, and then like allows me to not have to be constantly like fueling something. So whether that means your primary channel is social or your primary channel is SEO, like you do have to adjust for these shifts in behaviors, these AI impacted areas, and really try to understand like you're not trying to win the algorithm, whether that's in your feed or whatever the case, like you're trying to really build something that is like algorithm agnostic, like it works fluidly across the board. And that's what I like to call your ecosystem, right? So it's creating that kind of like forever omnipresence pulse that exists when you're creating content, but also understanding how your ecosystem is taking these people from just maybe meeting you to then trusting you and then ultimately buying from you. And that ecosystem has to work. Like I always say in email marketing, I'm like, you can't have silos because when you have things are siloed, you're losing opportunities for conversion and you're losing these opportunities of like connectivity. So somebody meets you on social media, you want them to be able to connect with who you are, see who like what you're vibing with, and then go into your email list, incubate there, and then convert. And it all starts at the top, which is why we talk about content so much in the sense that it really is such an important lever to build that trust from the get.
Okay, so another thing that changed, and you might have noticed it if you've ever done like a quick little Google search, is now like it used to be like, let me rank top, like SEO, let me keyword stuff this article so that when somebody searches for this, I am like the first person that
Mhm.
pops up. And that is really not how people are getting their information. Number one, Google has Search Insights now, which gives you that little summary
Summary.
of
Yeah.
what you asked to Google. And if you've got really, really great content, Google is saying, here's a summary and then like linking to that. So you want to be
Mhm.
that person. You don't, it's not more about like ranking first for that word. It's like having the robots trust enough that it's going to recommend what you
Yeah.
are saying to that consumer. Same thing with ChatGPT. Like he's recommended clients to me. They typed in about like, how do you launch or something like it's really cool. But like I'm getting new discovery calls where people are saying like, oh, I found you because ChatGPT like,
Yeah.
cited you for a question that I was answering, or I asked about what this is. So it's more now about making sure that your content is deep enough and trust enough and is actually addressing those questions that your ideal customer is actually typing into their search.
Yeah, I actually went in this huge deep dive of AI and like how do we optimize one, I was doing it for the podcast, but two, like how do we really start to build out our show notes, our blogs, our like articles, all of these things that we're already doing for the podcast. And one of the things that was really clear was that like obviously it's a robot, right? Like it has a trained mind on what it's looking for. So there's a set framework at the top of how you're building out things. It has to be able to answer a direct question. It has to be able to like have multiple steps, like a very clear framework. And all of these things are super important. One, because you as a business owner, as somebody who's making content and wants to be able to pivot with these changes, have to be able to adjust the top, which what we call is like that anchor content. If you really want it to be able to be cited by AI, you have to formulate it and framework it out in the way that AI prefers it to be, which is so fascinating because if somebody's asking a question like, what is a good lead magnet or what lead magnet works for this? That stuff has to be incorporated in a way that AI can consume it in my content and then recommend that. So it's so fascinating.
One of the many things that I have created and not promoted is a guide that how I got ChatGPT to recommend me and how you can too. So we will like put that up on the website, like subscribe to our newsletter list, and we'll make sure that like we have basically I create so much stuff. But yeah, I went down this rabbit hole last year as well and like redid my entire website so it was easy for a robot to read. I guess, and it was answering those questions. And actually now tools like Uber suggest, in addition to just like keyword rankings, they'll also give you the related questions that people are typing into chat and Claude so that you can know when you're starting to kind of create your content, like what questions to answer, what phrases to use, that sort of thing. Like the job of your content isn't to go viral. Its job is to be exactly what the person searching for needs.
And I mean, at this point, even if your information pops up in that little AI summary, you still have to have something cookie cutter, not generalized in order for somebody to click through and go. I was looking up something about gardening the other day, and it was like somebody that specialized in like Texas, South Texas gardening that I was like, immediately click out of here. I want to hear everything else you have to say. And that's not something like I think out of 1 in 10 Google searches am I clicking out and actually engaging further? So you do have to make sure that what we talked about in the last episode, which is that like unique, you add like the why you message still reigns while balancing at like you talking to the robots.
Yeah, and I mean, I think both of these two things that we've already talked about too, and like we've been beating this for like 8 weeks now, is that we think people have been putting so much emphasis on short form content and long form content is kind of an afterthought, where now really the flip is you have to have that really strong piece of anchor content. That should be
Mhm.
your main focus because that's what the search engine might not recommend your Instagram carousel or your post. They're going to probably look for like the websites first or the
Yeah.
YouTubes or things like that. Okay, so moving into the third thing that shifted, I'm gonna let Rachel riff on this, but is customer trust is at an all-time low.
As somebody who I try to have a lot of self-awareness too, like to look at my own buyer behavior first, and I'm skeptical of everything. If you have been in the online space for a while, like you realize that the boom after 2020 and all of these people came in, I'd say it's even more so worse now. The amount of what is it, AI slop that like is on the internet now that has been scraped from either somebody's blog or podcast or
Oh,
whatever the
our
case. Yeah, it really is just so interesting that you have to be so vigilant at what you consume. And I think, again, we keep rifting on this like we're in a trust economy. The biggest thing you can do and prioritize, and your most important KPI is that engagement of trust with your audience because if you really don't care about building that relationship with your audience or you don't care about building trust, your conversions are going to show that because we measure this in my clients is that customer lifetime value. How many times is somebody coming back to purchase with you? It is so much cheaper to convert somebody that's already purchased from you than it is to find a brand new person in order to convert them new. Customer lifetime value, retention rate, all of these different things that you can then say, okay, great, this is working or this isn't working. And if you want to go even higher up and look or zoom out a little bit more and say, from like a content aspect, like, are people asking you questions? Are people sharing your stories? Are people coming to you and trusting your information versus just like throwing you or continuing to scroll by? All of these different things are so important to how we then convert people into that next step. And it, again, all starts with content. Like it really does, because it's like how they first interact with you, how they continue to interact with you directly results how many times they buy from you.
I think something that you do beautifully when we work with our quiz clients is really digging into that their client's psyche, what they're feeling, and how many it's going to be different for every person, but how many touch points are they going to need? What are we going to need to tell them? So for example, we just, we're dealing with a public speaking coach where like his buckets are he's got like these high like VP execs or whatever, right? What's their psyche? Like they have more money than time, and then we
Mhm.
have like these like mid managers that he's also trying to like target with like a course where they have more time than money. And like maybe the mid range exec just got promoted. So like it's only he wants to move fast. So it's like maybe 5 emails are good enough for him because when you're trying to push the buyer along before they're ready, right, you're losing their trust. And the way that you do it is with such care, where you're making sure that these people feel they're not just a sale. They're really this person on the other end of this email is really taking care of them, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think we did. Gosh, we probably need to do another customer journey episode, but like the customer journey episode that we did previously was some of the mistakes that people make is you try to fit like your timeline into their conversion versus looking at the average time that it takes for somebody to convert and trying to work within that. I have emails. And so looking at the way that we just did this quiz funnel, where it was like, we built emails out for reactivation, which existed within that initial nurture sequence, right? If they buy in any of the initial emails, okay, great, kick them out, put them in onboarding, get them into client funnel, whatever. If they don't, reactivate. And like those are the key portions that are in that trust economy type shifts that we have to make now because one, it's smart. Two, you already got those leads on your email list, might as well continue to build that relationship because it's so much more expensive and much more difficult to get somebody to come re-opt in kind of thing. So it's just one of those shifts that really does take intentionality. And this is just in the way that like Jess and I operate in business, where we are not in this like bro marketing, like sell everything to everybody.
I remember when I was first getting into this and like when you're first trying to figure it out, it's, oh, a $5 template for emails. I'm going to buy this or whatever. And that's kind of when I got into your Align Leads formula. You don't give a template for this is your email sequence. It's you give us like the framework to figure it out. And I think that's kind of really what I appreciated. It stands out and is unique about you.
Thank you. Yeah,
That's how it should be, right? But it sounds easier to be like, just take this template, put your stuff in, and you're going to sell it. Like, not going to happen. You got to go a little deeper into it. And that's why, like, the questions that Rachel asked on like the quiz funnel blueprint call that we do, I'm just like, whoa, she's like a therapist or a psychiatrist really digging into these clients, our clients, so that she can really understand them before she, makes her strategy for them.
But this is the thing, is that we are not expecting anybody that's listening to be an expert marketer, a seasoned marketer, but we want to give you the tools to help you just put that hat on for an hour and then take it off and go back to do your zone of genius. And that really is the key to like whatever Jess and I are trying to do, is we want to give you those tools to make sure you understand in any business, whether you're a public speaking coach, a dietitian, or whatever the case may be, you should be able to look at this with intentionality or call bullshit on somebody that's trying to sell you something that may not work.
I mean, templates pretty much for anything, like everything has to be so customizable, which is why I don't like selling. I was talking to Rachel about this today too. People see my Notion template that's like, I want that. I'm like, yeah, but it just works because it's my brain, or it's because it's a specific team, and I might be able to give you a jumping off point, but at some point, you're going to kind of have to integrate yourself into it. I think that also with people just trying to like use AI for like a Band-Aid too. Like AI only performs as good as what a good should look like, right? Rachel and I can use AI to create email sequences because we're going to go back and forth with it like it's a junior copywriter and tell it what's wrong, what's right, and that sort of thing. That's where I think people kind of miss the boat with AI, is that they're not using it within their system, within their framework, with their own, like, I don't know, human them first kind of way.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So the next thing, and which we haven't really talked about, but is the email marketing. Like now all of a sudden we're seeing like summaries at the top. You got people like me using agents. So like where it used to be, where a lot of effort is just on like that subject line, right? To get the person to click in, it's kind of shifted a little bit. And I mean, what are you seeing, Rachel? Or what is shifting, or what are you noticing about?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot now, especially I just updated my phone to the new OS. I just opened it where now you have the promotions on your inbox in Apple Mail on your phone, which is something that I had not seen before. And so I really think that is going to be impacting how technology is a direct impact to how we consume things. So from an email side, I am seeing lower open rates across the board. But what we're also seeing is that sender reputation is even more. The people who are opening and are clicking are prioritizing your emails across those promotional tabs and all of that. So really understanding that spamming and sending as many emails as you possibly can is going to directly impact how many times you get filtered to spam or how many times you get buried in all of these different things. There's one email marketer that, not naming names, but I cringe at the advice that is like, if I'm not sending 15 emails a day and you don't see my name in your inbox every hour, I'm not doing my job right.
Like, but also, like, it is so easy. On top of all that, it is not even the spam filter. It's so easy to unsubscribe right now.
It's
every
right
email I open are right at the top. Unsubscribe or Gmail, because I know I went through my personal email inbox, had 80,000 different emails in it now. And it actually, like, Gmail now has like a managed subscription. I don't know how long that's been there, but it's the first time I saw it where it's managed subscriptions. And you can just go through the list of everything you're subscribed to and just click unsubscribe, unsubscribe. And so just sending an email to just be like, check, I've sent that email off this week. Like, that's kind of dangerous now because every email you send, if it's not valuable to that person, it is so easy for them just to be like, unsubscribe, I don't want to talk to you anymore. And then all the work you did to get them on your list or the money you paid in ads is going to
Yep.
nothing. You really have to be so intentional with what you're sending and how much you're sending and all of those things.
There will always be these people who are spamming, and there will always be these people who do not take that intentionality to it. How we want to run our business and how we exist in that kind of this needs to feel good to me, like with my clients, with everybody. You have to be able to have that like values driven intention first before you, because I'm not ever going to convince this bro marketer over here to be like, no, you shouldn't send that. You need to be more intentional because for every 10 emails I send, I convert $1,000. It's just one of those things that if you can do it in a way that is going to preserve your sender reputation, still convert, be super intentional. Email, again, is just a singular touch point. Really having that ecosystem around it as that whole strategy is ultimately the goal here. Email is where I see most of my clients convert the most, and that's why I am email champion lady over here, but they can't do it without the other components. Like, they can't grow their list without social, without SEO, without ads.
So everything we talked about today, like we've talked about, like, how things have shifted and the way that we think that you future proof your business and keep that consistent revenue coming in is building like client attraction ecosystem, which if that vibes with you, we have a whole guide. It'll be linked in the description down below about kind of our approach to building this future proof ecosystem. And everything is intentionally built to kind of address these changes that we've seen in the marketplace.
But here's what we want to leave you with today is that the internet has changed. That's real. We're validating it here. It is not just a you thing, but what we are doing to work within that change is the most important part, right? It's changing us to really stand out in a more intentional way. It is going to be harder, right? Because we're adjusting and we're pivoting our process, but really understanding that this fluidity is what's necessary in business, but the foundation that you're building when you're building things that are authentically you, that are frameworked around your core knowledge and your why is the key to counteracting all of this chaos that's happening with AI and like just overall buyer, like consumption of content and all of that. So understanding that like these kind of like rigid funnels that kick people out after 5 days, that's what's falling apart right now. And that this super connected, like rooted piece is the foundation that I think is going to be more valuable than ever. And I think the more people that shift to this type of less siloed environment is really going to see the most success.
Yeah, and if you're scared and you're like, this sounds like a lot of work, you do not need a giant team. Rachel and I have hacked this method to where even with babies, teenagers, all that stuff, she's taking her driving test, we are still managing to get out content every week that is doing the system. So get that guide. It'll walk you through kind of how we approach everything. And if something in this episode clicked, make sure you send it to a biz bestie, like, follow, subscribe. We know there's a lot of new people here because we've been doing so much content with our rooted content ecosystem. So welcome. And we hope to see you next week.
Until next that
And
learning.
until one more time. And until then, we're rooting for you.